During his oversight visit in KwaZulu-Natal yesterday, the National Commissioner of Police, General Fani Masemola, indicated that since the start of their safer festive operations in October this year, more than 5,000 illegal shebeens and taverns have been closed nationally. In KwaZulu-Natal, almost 3,000 unlicensed liquor premises have been shut down thus far, with over 2,000 of those who were selling liquor illegally being arrested. To talk more about the impact of excessive alcohol drinking, we are joined virtually by Nomcebo Dlamini, the Chairperson of the Central Drug Authority. Nomcebo, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here on Morning Live.
Thank you very much for having me, Leanne. And I am not the chairperson, I'm the deputy chairperson
thank you
of the Central Drug Authority.
Thanks so much for correcting us. We unfortunately had that one wrong. But Deputy Chair, talk to us about the problem with alcohol and South Africans. We know it's there. We know it's there. We live it every day. But I imagine over this festive season, it goes overboard.
Yes, unfortunately, that is the situation. And every year, Leanne, we have these conversations. And it's sad that we continue to have these conversations year after year, which should not be happening. And this time, the worst is in 2025, we are seeing a spike in killings at alcohol establishments. And of course, the usual fatal road accidents that seem to be rising. And these are not random events, unfortunately, but it seems to be a well-established pattern where hazardous alcohol use just fuels violence, trauma, and death. And we are a nation that binge drinks. And around the December period, either December or Easter period, that's what seems to happen all the time. And there is a need for attention to this, and attention by South Africans themselves, not necessarily even government, because government can put the laws in place, we can legislate. But if we as South Africans do not realize that we have a problem with alcohol, and we have a problem that is maybe peculiar to us as South Africa, and maybe our history and so many other things that pertain to us are the things that are leading us to this. But we need to acknowledge that we have a serious problem with alcohol in South Africa, and then we will be able to take the necessary steps to deal with the problem.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what happened yesterday. The police arrested the owner of Kwa Nokolo Tavern in Bekkersdal on Gauteng's West Rand after it was found that she's been operating illegally with a fraudulent liquor license. And I mean, this is after the death toll from the Sunday deadly shooting has risen now to 10. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation. What do you make of these developments?
You know, this is such a problem, Leanne, in communities where we have been as the Central Drug Authority together with other organizations. The one thing that has been a cry from communities is there's too many taverns, there's too many establishments, and there is a lack of understanding of why this is happening. And perhaps what happened yesterday, the discovery of this license to be fraudulent, is what is happening in almost all communities, where you find that in one street, you have got 4 or 5 establishments. And the question is, how are all these establishments licensed? And of course, yesterday, we got to know that perhaps some of them are not actually licensed. Maybe only one of them is licensed or is holding a real license. The others are fraudulent. So perhaps it's necessary for the liquor boards throughout the country, not just Gauteng, throughout the country to go and check all the licenses that are existing. We understand that the liquor boards, they continue to speak of capacity issues, that they're not able to go to each and every establishment and check because of lack of capacity. That may be true, but then there has to be something that is done because we realize that we have a problem. And if we have a problem and we are serious about solving it, then there has to be operating outside of the norm to figure out how we deal with it. And we cannot continue to allow such to happen. And Leanne, you know, this lady was continuing to speak about how she has a liquor license, knowing very well that the liquor license that she's holding is fraudulent. How many of these do we have in our communities? Yeah. But perhaps what communities are crying out about is a clear sign that we have a problem and we've got fraudulent licenses that need to be dealt with.
Well, I think the number at the bottom of the screen tells you very much so how bad the situation is. If we've just seen that 5,228 have been closed down nationally since the start of the festive season, and that's only these couple of weeks. And the bottom line is that there are many many more where those came from, and they've been allowed to operate freely. And this is, again, another problem where it just highlights the lawlessness in South Africa. I mean, at one point we are looking at tuck shops and spaza shops that are selling things that are killing children. Now we're looking at illegal places where alcohol is being sold freely and people are making money, and then people are being killed. I mean, this is a very big problem where at the end of the day, where do we look? Do we look to law enforcement, that they are not doing their job properly, or do we just look at a community that really doesn't really care to the laws anyway?
Perhaps what we need to be looking at is also how we link community with the work of government. Because right now we've got a national emergency on GBV, and GBV, Leanne, is clearly linked to alcohol use in our country. Almost all the cases that are recorded of GBV instances, you find that there's alcohol that is linked to it. But unfortunately, when the GBV emergency was announced by the president or proclaimed by the president, there was no mention of alcohol and substance use, whereas we have an interministerial committee that is for GBV, alcohol and substance use. I would say perhaps the first thing to do is to figure out how to link these things and continually figure out what all the departments need to be doing in a coordinated manner to deal with this problem. And then, of course, the community needs to come on board. And government cannot be expected to be running on its own, trying to implement interventions when communities are not helping. We are aware that these establishments, some of them are existing in our communities, but we are not reporting them. So perhaps first what we need to also do as communities in working with government is start to report. There's 10111 where we can report wherever you see any illegality. If you see young people that are getting into an establishment that are not supposed to be there, you can call that number and report to the police. You can call the number and report if you know that that particular person is operating an illegal license. There's also an issue of illicit alcohol that is out there. Us as communities know of these places that sell this illicit alcohol, but we're not reporting that. But Leanne, you know, there's another challenge that alcohol establishments and tavern owners have been saying, even to the CDA, as well as to other organizations when we engage them, to say, you know, the licenses that are given to big establishments like ShopRite and Pick n Pay, which are now operating in communities where they are supposed to be having businesses, is also challenging them, which is perhaps another way that another thing that then leads them to selling illicitly and doing things that are outside of the law, because they feel like these big shops and these big establishments like the ShopRites and the Pick n Pay, they're able to sell, and they make a huge profits, and they, unfortunately, because they are smaller establishments, not able to sell as well. And then what people are doing, they're going to ShopRite and Checkers and Pick n Pay, which is in Soweto, loading alcohol into the big beanies, the wheelie beanies, taking them to their houses and selling. So there's all these things that are happening which are illegal. But at the same time, we cannot then allow the illegality to continue. As communities, we need to start taking responsibility as well, and not just pointing at government all the time. Government has to do its work, but we, as well as the communities, we need to work with government. These are our communities that are affected. We are the ones that are having that are messed up in our families. We are the ones that are dealing with this in our communities. So when SABC is there dealing with the problem, can we please also work with SABC?
Absolutely.
Report where it's necessary. Tell the police where it's necessary.
And I mean, you talk about these illegal establishments and selling alcohol to underage children, and we call them children. They're underage. It's illegal. You shouldn't be drinking. And then they do delivery services. I mean, I know that's something that happens with the youth in our community. They have these delivery services that come and they deliver, but they only take cash so that the kids can actually pay for it, and then they drink, and it's absolutely fine. They don't matter what age they are. They just do it. And these are the things that are happening all over the place. Besides all of that, you spoke about gender-based violence. We're speaking about illegal alcohol, illegal establishments. But there's also the scourge of drunken driving. I mean, just yesterday alone, Johannesburg Metro Police say 227 motorists were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol over this last long weekend. I mean, we see the numbers that we lose of lives on the roads, and whether they are pedestrians or those driving that are under the influence. Again, this shows again the excessive impact of alcohol use, irresponsibility.
And perhaps the other thing, Leanne, to that, it's quite devastating. And we haven't even been, we're not even at Christmas yet. So you can imagine what's going to be happening the next few days. And the other thing that is there is we've normalized alcohol so much in our country. And it's like festive season, we drink. It should not be that way. And perhaps we need to then break this link between alcohol use and driving by making it not normal to even drink and stop even the advertising that is there, because we cannot run away from the fact that alcohol has been glamorized and it has been made to be one of the normal things that we do. If we're celebrating, we drink, and then we forget that there is no amount of alcohol that is in your system that will allow you to be able to drive. No matter how strong you are, or because we tell ourselves, I can hold my liquor. Nobody can hold their liquor when it comes to getting behind the wheel. You should not be getting behind the wheel at all. Even if you have taken a beer, don't. Because and even the tiniest amount of alcohol in your system affects the way that your brain functions. You will not be able to respond on time. You will not be able to see the dangers that are lurking that may not be as visible to a person who's slightly intoxicated. Yeah. So intoxication should just be one of those things that we say, I will not allow. And even as the people that are in the car, do not allow the person that has drunk to drive the car. If it means we stop, we don't go because this person is insisting, then to save your life and the life of other people, then do that. We need to do these drastic things and stop normalizing what is not supposed to be normal. And even when we see the adverts, because right now they are everywhere, telling us we should be buying and buying and buying. And Leanne, last year alone, the alcohol industry made billions from us in just 1 month. Sure. And we are left with the true cost, which is our families, hospitals, and the health system being flooded. All those things are coming to us as society. So we really need to look at this and be drastic in terms of what we do. The accidents cannot continue like this. Yeah. But we see that if nothing is done, they will definitely continue, unfortunately.
All right, Nomcebo, let's leave it at that. I think I'm hoping that the message got through to those that are listening and that will perhaps think twice about the behaviour over this next couple of days of New Year and Christmas and drinking and driving and underage drinking, and of course these establishments that we need to report. We need to protect our communities. Nomcebo Dlamini, Chairperson of the Central Drug Authority, talking to us about the dangers of excessive alcohol use and of course its impact.